everybody? It's your girl, Charlotte Van Horn, Black Expats in Panama, by way of little old Glassboro, New Jersey. You know it right here on BlackCityRadio.com. And you know how we go. I ain't got time to sit and chit chat and smile with you today because I have some amazing guests on the show and you will want to know what they have to say. So I am so proud to introduce my friends, Sharon and Bargery Williams, to the show. Hello, family.
Hey, hey, hey.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
For those of you that will see this interview, because you know these interviews go to radio, they go to my podcast, and then they go to YouTube, you will recognize Sharon as the dancing diva. Now she will forever be known as probably the only black expat I ever seen do zip lining over the city in Panama. She is just too much. We did our Tina Turner dance.
That's right. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
I'm so glad to have y'all on the show. And Bargery, he does a mean improv. Every time I think about you, Barbs.
I forgot about that.
Remember when your assignment was you were supposed to be a crackhead trying to get your wife to give you money.
Right.
You said, just give me the money. It's so funny. But I love you guys. I'm so happy to have you on the show. I really want you to introduce yourself, and then we're going to get into talking about your new life, your chosen path of being an expatriate from the United States. That's a bit, ain't that a sophisticated word? We'd be forgetting that expat actually means expatriate. That's what we're doing. That's what we're working with. Go ahead, you guys introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us about your family, and let's get into it.
Okay, so I'm Sharon of Sharon and Bargery. Originally born in Jamaica. Have lived in Illinois, North Carolina, Georgia, and we moved here from Texas. Very happily and very quickly, I might add. We have 2 children, 2 adult children. We have 3 grandchildren and a great grandson as of June. We started our journey before 2021, actually. Some friends of ours, we talked about we are going to retire together. Leah and Lloyd, you've met them. Yes. And so they have 1 child, we have our 2. And so we were thinking we're going to retire someplace together and Rachel will have some help and the 3 of them can take care of the 4 of us. But then that didn't work out, but they still came with us we were BEIP 5, whoop, whoop. And they came with us anyway. It was Leah's birthday. And we had pretty much looked at different places to possibly retire. And Panama just kept coming up. It just kept coming up. It kept coming up.
Was BEIP number 5. And that is Black Expats in Panama Cultural Relocation Tour number 5.
Yes. So we were early on in the game. That was
December 2022? Or 2021?
No, December 2021.
Okay.
It was supposed to be before that, but COVID.
Okay. Wow.
So it got pushed back, but we did it, and everything happens in its own time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Bargery, what you got to say? What you got to say? Because Sharon ain't gonna stop.
She covered it all, so I'll just chime in. I'm Bargery. You heard all the places we lived. I'm just originally from Chicago, south side of Chicago. Family is from pretty much Arkansas area, across the river to Memphis. Yeah, and it was mentioning that I have roots in the Memphis area, actually Arkansas across the river. And I'm mentioning it because it's been amazing as we've been down here. I've met so many people from different parts of the country and the world, and I'm surprised how many have rural Arkansas roots. But I was raised in Chicago and pretty much was just a city boy.
Wow. So now when it came to the kids, and when y'all decided that you were going to make the move, so I guess you did the tour first. When you started talking about it, did the kids think you were serious?
Yes, and the reason being that we had been back in the States for about 10 years after having moved to Bermuda. for 6 years. So we lived in Bermuda for 6 years. So that time was a little different. Kiara, our daughter, was getting married, and she's the one. She's really the one. She tells people now, yep, my parents are leaving me again. But our son Jordan at the time of Bermuda was in college. And so his big thing was, okay, so what happens on holidays, vacations, or whatever? We're like, wherever we are, that's where you holiday. So he was fine with telling his friends, oh, I'm going home. Well, where's home? Bermuda. So he works with seniors in Denton. So he is pretty much like, you all need to take care of you. And he's good with that.
But so you had lived and you worked in Bermuda though, right? You went to Bermuda for work?
Yes, I taught in Bermuda. Yeah.
Bargery, were you still working at that time?
So I retired from corporate, but I worked for 1 year. So Sharon was there for 6 years. I only got to be there for 5.
Okay.
I finished working at Verizon, which had bought MCI out of bankruptcy. So people old enough to know about that whole situation. And then once I got to Bermuda, I freelanced off and on through those 5 years. And at the end started transitioning to do just some real estate investing once we came back to Texas. And that's, so I haven't had to go back in to work for anybody for a while. So I'm retired, but I don't know when I retired.
You just eased on out of it.
Yeah, I was 50 when I left Verizon. So I haven't worked for a company since then, but I haven't like started a business like yourself and run a business. I haven't worked hard like my wife since then. Nothing full time.
As well, like when you were growing up, what was your travel life? Like when you were kids, did your families travel?
So it's a little bit different for me because I'm originally from Jamaica. So travel for us would be like people in the States, you know, you have family in the South or whatever, you go there for the summers or you go to another part of the state or whatever. So we traveled naturally because we went back to Jamaica. My mother used to do vacations, even though they were kind of local. She'd get out a map and she'd kind of do this and say, okay, that's where we're going on vacation. So we've been to some places that ain't nobody ever heard of or would think to go there, but it was good. It was a good experience.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, I would give a shout out. Some people, I'm not from New Orleans, but some people will relate to this. There's the Amtrak, what's now the Amtrak train, but it was the Illinois Central Railroad that connects Chicago to New Orleans on the New Orleans Limited, I think it's City of New Orleans train. So I spent my summers before I remembered anything from age 0 on, every summer on that train to Memphis, getting off in Memphis, getting picked up on the back of a pickup truck and taken over to Arkansas, out to a sharecropper's home, sharecroppers shotgun houses over in Marion, Arkansas. The black section was called Sunset, Arkansas. So that's all the traveling I had done up to about age 14 when I refused to go. I refused to go down there then because I had a girlfriend, got myself a little job. And the next travel I took was the very next week after the big plane crash in Chicago. And the reason I took that flight was it was our honeymoon. We had just gotten married and I couldn't back out of it. So my first trip was on a plane to Bahamas.
That L-1011, that big old plane that crashed in Chicago.
In 1979.
79.
A lot of people died.
I wasn't paying attention to stuff back then. Listen, I was.
Well, you gonna fly the next week.
Look, the only reason that was his first flight.
Well, that's kind of my story about how I ended up in Mississippi, because I was going to move to Mississippi, and you know, I got this train ticket. Me and Sade was just moving because my life was a mess. Quiet as it was kept, you know, my life was a hot damn mess. Okay, and I needed a new life. Okay. And so my best friend Karen was always my what they call today soft landing. She just was. She was like, she didn't even know all the things I was going through. And
Okay.
she was just like, you should come out here and stay in Mississippi. You know how you are. She's like, I gotta go to Italy for 3 months because she was in the Air Force. I gotta go to Italy for three
Oh,
months.
wow.
You could get an apartment. You could use my apartment. You can use my car. You can get an apartment and a job. In that time, I know you can. And make a long story short, one day I just decided to take her up on it, and I bought a ticket. The ticket that I bought was on and it might have been called the Sunset. The
Oh,
train
wow.
might have been
Yeah.
something like that, but it was a
Yeah.
terrible accident on this train. Terrible accident. I think it was one of the worst crashes in Amtrak history.
Oh, wow.
And there were like 47 people that died. And they went to go over a bridge in the bayou. The train crashed in like Alabama.
I do
And
remember that.
and there's a barge had hit the bridge. So
Yes.
that trip was literally maybe 2 weeks or something like that before my trip. And I called Amtrak. I was like, listen, I need my money back. I need my money back. And they was like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you bought a non-refundable ticket. And if it weren't for that 200, I remember it was 247 or $274 that I had
That's
at
a whole
stake.
lot of
My
money.
life would not that one thing
Yeah.
my changed my whole life. I met Alfredo when I got to Mississippi
See?
and ended up here doing this. So yeah, I get it. But I think that sometimes our initial travel as young people kind of shapes us. I feel like what your mother doing shapes our ideas about traveling and how comfortable we are, at least initially with it. I think that your mom, doing that, that spin, that was courageous. That was
Yes.
courageous.
But
And
as a
it may
kid,
have
I
been a
didn't
time where it
realize
wasn't
how
even that
courageous
safe.
that was. Yeah,
Say
I didn't
what?
realize it. I said, as a kid, I didn't realize how courageous that was. And then being in Chicago, we went to Niagara Falls when I was little bitty,
Yeah.
but as a kid, you're like, okay, this is just what we do. And you don't realize till later on, wow,
So
wow.
tell us, yeah, it does make a difference. So one thing about Black expats in Panama cultural relocation tour is that we just become family. And you hear that all the time, and we came up last night with the B2B, we came up with a new one, beep for life.
Okay.
Beep for life. And somebody says somebody need a t-shirt. But it's true. And
It
you
is.
figure we met in December of 2021. And I don't think that we have been disconnected for any long period of time since.
No,
So, so
that
tell us
was
about the tour and you getting here.
okay. So, like we said, we were supposed to come earlier, but COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the tour where we had to make sure we took the test before we got there. We had to make sure we weren't contagious while we were here, but it did not hinder the experience.
Mm.
And I don't really know because any other time during COVID where we were having to take tests to go here, there was always kind of like a very stressful, everything went very smoothly. And the thing that I remember that was really kind of funny was I can't remember what your phrase was, but as we were getting on the bus, we had to get sprayed and we had to, wipey.
Washy? Was it
Yes.
washy?
Yes.
Washy?
Never felt even at the hotel. I mean, never felt any kind of anxiety with going hither and yon, being on the bus. None of that. It was.
And if I can add, sort of like it was a contrast because we both have had aging parents during COVID who mostly survived COVID. But my mother was in Chicago. And we were living in the Dallas, Texas area. Her mother and stepdad were in Orlando. So we had spent, and we're both the eldest with power of attorney, this, that, and the other. So as they had lockdowns, you couldn't get into the independent living facilities and this sort of thing. Whenever we could travel, we would then travel to Chicago or Florida to see a parent. And we were going through all the protocols and all the testing. And since we're going into senior living spaces, it was real serious. So when we got to take the tour, we were kind of, you weren't tired of going to see about your parents, but to be able to go through all of that one more time of testing and wipe your hands, and then once you get there, you're in Panama and on the tour and dealing with people like yourself and Teo and
the party bus.
Right. And I was looking forward to Panama, but I had never been in this part of the world. So I'll jump back to to my first flight, which was on our honeymoon. We flew to Bahamas I'd never been out of the country. I'd been anywhere but down to Arkansas. Flew to Bahamas on Air Jamaica.
Woohoo!
And so this is my first flight, I'm all worried. I get up to the top of the jet and there's these sultry Jamaican stewardesses handing out
rum punch.
Like a rum punch. I'm like, rum punch, hell yeah. Oh, excuse me, sorry. So after a couple of rum punches, and then I land in Bahamas, and I had never really been around just all Black folk in a really nice setting. It was either in sharecropper setting or in Chicago, where we had Klansmen and all kind of people telling us we couldn't cross this street, and you couldn't go here, and you get beat up and you wouldn't in that white area. So Panama was my second coming of coming to a place where I just went, well, hell, they're not in control down here. I can be who I am. And so the trip went on very well from that. And then Teo, of course, connected up so much of our diaspora experiences as African descended people. So that just made the trip even better.
It's one of the most important parts. And it's like, the cultural relocation tour hadn't been done. Somebody just brought that to my attention, like, girl, that's not out here. Then you have cultural tours and then you have relocation tours, but the cultural relocation tour concept is your girl. And yes, and I think that the cultural part connects you. Because it's all about connecting to our people in the diaspora, right? Yes. And I think it's that part that literally connects you to Panama. So, okay, so y'all got here, washy, y'all paying, y'all being good on the bus and everything. I mean, the tour has probably changed so much since the first year.
Yes. But it was, you could tell it was good then. All of the pieces were there. And so not having been on another one, I feel like what has happened is it's just expanded. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's just expanded, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Something popped up on the screen. I was trying to read it. But we were pretty sure at that point that we were going to follow through with the move.
Wow.
So when we left, after we left in December, we contacted Giovanna and found out, like, what all do we need to do? Mm-hmm. And so we started doing that. Bargery had been through a lot of that kind of investigative background check and all of that with his job. I had done some of that with, us moving to Bermuda, but it was still like, okay, but what do we need to do to get to Panama? So we put that directly in motion. And I will tell you, one of the things we had to do was get a new copy of our marriage certificate. Oh. And then I had to get an actual copy of my birth certificate, because my original birth certificate was handwritten and was about to crumble up. So I have an official one. Yeah.
So you had to get a new official copy.
Yes.
From Jamaica.
From Jamaica. Oh, that's right. Jamaica.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
I hadn't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I hadn't retired yet. So I ended up officially retiring in May of 22.
Okay.
So in November of 22, we came back to Panama and met with Giovanna, and then did all that we needed to do to put all of that in order. So we did that then, and then we had until May of 23 to get that sorted. Well, in the meantime, Bargery, and I'll let him finish on that story, having to put your mother in nursing and rehab, and hospice.
Yeah, she survived COVID, But that last round of Omicron, with her being nominally independent, but her mind slipping, she was going deeper into dementia. They just diagnosed her as dementia. She wasn't being seen to, and she was laying around a lot. She ended up with a severe bed sore that had not been discovered until I got there. I got there to take her to memory care. I had to take her instead to the emergency room. And from that on, she ended up hospitalized that year as we're finishing that up. And then when we got ready to move here,
well, we came.
Yeah, she had. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we came back and spent the summer last summer here in Panama. But we, as soon as we came back, time was running out on finalizing our paperwork. So right before we came, we put his mother in hospice. So we came within that first week. You know, Giovanna and them there. Oh my gosh, we got all of that done.
Together,
and then he left the next week to go back because at that point, putting her in hospice, we thought this was it. We're done. But then
I landed in the plane in Chicago on that Sunday night, not feeling well, COVID, and finally caught up. We'd never, through all of our back and forth to all the nursing homes and all the sick older people we've been around, I finally got COVID. So I couldn't even see her in hospice. I had to go into a hotel in Chicago and, you know, what do you call isolate? So I didn't even get to see her.
So when you left Panama that time, you went home and got sick?
That was May of last year, May 2023.
Right.
So I incubated, and it didn't make any sense to go to see my mom at that point, and came straight back to Panama and, you know, finished I didn't have a bad case, but I wasn't strong for, you know, at least a month.
Right.
And so I did my recuperation in Panama from May till to August last year as we got used to all the different places. I missed a couple of BEIP functions, of your functions, because, you know, I wasn't sure I should come around people.
Right.
So I didn't get to really do anything until August. I felt confident enough. And I guess, did we do the cruise before then? Was I well enough? Wasn't that summer?
You did the cruise in May. Y'all were here for the May 2023, my 60th birthday and the reunion. Yes.
Okay, so that was my first event, but then it was my only event because we were out on the boat and doing stuff. So I said, that's outdoors. And then I went back and just had to stay away from people because you just, you know, we still didn't know with this COVID thing.
I think the next thing y'all probably did was your anniversary.
Yes.
Because your anniversary is in August.
That was this year.
Oh, okay. Okay, child.
Yeah, 2020, right. 2023, we spent May, June, and July here. And amazingly, we did Airbnbs.
Yes.
That first Airbnb was in Rio Bajo. And we did everything online, right? So it wasn't until we got here, people were like, I'm sorry, where are you staying? In Rio or where? But we met who we call our Panama daughter now. She does party decor and all of that. She was taking care of the apartment for a friend of hers. So she ended up being our neighbor. And she took such good care of me when Bargery had to leave. And then when he was sick, she was taking me all over the place. And it was fabulous. Then the month of June, we stayed in a walk-up. Anyway, in what's the place called? Dos Equis? Is that?
No, Club X.
Club X.
We would say Club X. Club X.
Near the Doce de Octubre. It was an apartment. There was no elevator.
Yeah.
It was on the fourth floor.
Oh, wow.
No, but here's what's funny. Before we did that, when I saw that, I had him take a video of him walking up these stairs before I said I would take this place. I need to see what this looks like. And we ended up being there. Our kids came, and then we stayed at a different duplex in El Carmen for a week while they were there. And then July, we stayed in San Francisco.
So y'all did Airbnbs. Okay, you
Yes.
came back, you spent the summer, but you
Yes.
lived in like, you experienced like 3 or 4 different areas.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so you experienced, that was sort of like a good plan.
It was a good, that was a good way for us to do. And we were actually in communities. We still had connection with people outside of the community. Years ago, my mother and stepfather were on a cruise through the canal, and he got deathly ill and taken off the ship. So she, because of their insurance and all that, my mother was assigned a social worker. We've stayed in touch with her ever since.
I was going to mention
So
that.
yes, so she, lived in San Francisco. We meet up with them probably like once or twice a month. We also met up with Dr. Gooden, Melba Gooden. And so it was just very organic.
Right. And a lot of the idea came from the fact of the interaction with people that we met through Black Expats in Panama. At the different events, you find out how people made their way, and also your videos of Panama. And that's what gave us the idea, live in different places before you make a decision. And we decided to do it all in one summer.
Yes, that was awesome. But don't you love it how, we are tailoring our lives?
Yes.
And that's why I say everybody's story is unique. You got some people that just say, you know what, I'm leaving, and came to Panama with 2 suitcases. You got some people that planned it for years and years and years. And then in your case, you came, you did the tour, you visited a few times, you got your residency, and so y'all got pensionado, right?
Oh yeah, and driver's license.
And driver's license. Are y'all driving?
No, ma'am. But it was easier to just get it then, because we were able to get it just by showing that we were drivers in good stead in the States. So we didn't have to take a test.
Does that window expire? Or can you, even if you've been here for a while, you can still do that, right?
I would think so, but I don't know.
Your girl don't have a license, so
well,
after I was here 3 months, once you get your residency, you be riding dirty. You gotta get that I was riding dirty, y'all. But I don't really want to drive here anyway. I drive in my community, when I was clean.
Yes.
But I just haven't had a chance to get over there to get my driver's license.
Well, now you'll probably want it. We are thinking about doing it for like going outside of the city, to be able to just take yourself and then bring yourself back. And
yes, exactly. And I do like being driven now. That's the problem too. and the fact that I was just in California, and it was like, okay, Ubers are stupid. They are so expensive. And it was like, okay, do I rent a car? And I think to rent a car would have cost me $500 or $600 or something like that. Or do I Uber? Because I know that's going to cost Uber dollars.
Yes.
And I want to say that within 4 days, I spent $450 on Uber.
Yeah.
$450 on Uber. That's and crazy. Not one trip was more than 8 miles. Not one trip was more than 8 miles. Honestly, I think that in California, Los Angeles, really, I just think that to sit down in the Uber is like a $10 charge.
Good.
It's very expensive, very expensive. I found myself walking. Like I was like, I'm gonna walk, because it just didn't make me feel good to pay that much money to be driven a mile or a mile and a half. I mean, some things were so close, and you're almost pushing up on $20.
Wow. And you were fortunate to be in an area where you could walk, because in Texas, the Dallas area especially, you say something to somebody about walking somewhere, they think you've lost your mind.
Absolutely. So you came, so you got your residency, you looked around, you've made contacts here, you got your license, And then what? So after the summer that you spent here, what was y'all next step? What you did?
Then we went home and said, okay, let's make this work. So started figuring out what that move was going to look like. We came back here in March of 2024 to actually look for a place to stay. And I'm the kind of I got a little antsy with that because it was like, because we had decided we were coming in May. By that point, we had decided we were coming in May.
No matter what.
Right. Yeah, we weren't going to let anything stop us. So figuring out what we could do. We still have our house, still have our cars. So I've got a very good friend in Texas who literally goes by my house every week and checks the mail that we stopped, but whatever, and drives my car. So then we came in March, we looked around and it was looking kind of dire, like we weren't going to find someplace. And then we found someplace, like 2 days before we were getting ready to leave, and came back and moved in May. Oh, and we found—
What area did you choose?
We're in San Francisco.
Okay.
And we found a landlord who was looking after this place for her brother, who he and his family moved. And she was willing to let us make a deposit in March, but not charge us for April. And then we pay May when we got here. So it was like, oh yeah.
Yes. Sometimes to be able to take it off the market and be reasonably sure that you're going to have good tenants, it's worth it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we figured that out after we got here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so then you moved there. And do you feel that you decided on San Francisco because of the experiences that you had over that summer?
I think so.
And pretty much. And the other thing is the closeness to the park. We wanted to be close either to Parque Omar, or to Parque Uraca in what is that, Bella Vista? Bella Vista. But yeah, we want to be close to one of those. And we liked El Congreso. So, San Francisco was kind of, it didn't edge out those others, but the availability of this apartment, as close as it was to the park for my walking in the morning. And we got the bonus that it's even closer to Multiplaza. So we're about the equivalent of a block and a half from Multiplaza.
So that's awesome. And when you came in, you couldn't find a place right away. Sometimes that happens. And now it's getting to the point where, rentals you can't just assume because it's becoming very competitive.
Yes.
So there's so many expats coming here, and there have actually been some bidding wars.
Right.
Yes, we've heard that from a couple of people. Yeah.
Yes.
But again, the intelligence we got from people like yourself and people around you was that we had a pretty good plan to come and find our apartment during the start of the rainy season.
True. Right.
After the high season, where people are leaving out, emptying out. So we had a lot of things to choose from. It's just finding something. I guess we're being picky. Because on the day that we found this apartment, we actually saw 2 other apartments, and we would have taken either one. As we left each one, we were sure we were going to take that one. So that final day was just boom, boom, boom. And then we got here and we said, well, let's stop now. Let's just go ahead and take this one.
Right.
So yeah, but because we were looking in March instead of looking in like now, because we hear people are finding stuff now, but the snowbirds are starting to come back in, and we wouldn't have known that. But again, being around people who were in community, sharing information about their experience, we did it on that kind of, other reasons to do it that way, but that kind of solidified it. This was a good time to look for an apartment.
Information that you can get is great, especially when you're talking to people who are living and walking it. Living and walking it, and also the community is a lot of fun. The other night when we were 26 of us showed up on a half a day's notice to greet some members from Beat Tour number 8 who were coming back, for a visit, and it meant so much to them. They have a home here, but they really haven't had a lot of chance to experience the community here.
Okay.
And then, because the last time they came, we had protests. And so things were kind of like, remember, we were going to go to Emotions, and I didn't go, and, they didn't really get to do a whole lot. And, so it was really nice for them to be able to connect with the community. And it made them really start to think about, we need to do this sooner. Because, the energy, the camaraderie is just like very, very significant and important.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, and you all both brought it up, because one thing is for sure, it doesn't matter what the event is. If it's a BEIP event, and it doesn't matter if you're going because people that are going to be there. Once you leave that event, now some people who were at the event. That's just the way it works out, which is a lot to do with you and your energy that you bring to it too. So.
I think I like to host those events because it's a safe space.
Yes.
It's a safe space and a safe way for you to get to know people. I'm very, very particular about people coming into the group on the group page and say, hey, I'm coming into town. Does anybody hook up? I struggle with that so much because there have been some real abusive situations where I do understand most of that. It's just, it's just innocent. And you do want to hook up, with people that are here and stuff. So I try to provide as many public group events as I possibly can, because the other thing is I'm not meeting up with you personally. There are people that send me a message and they say, hey, we're going to be in Panama and we want to know if we can connect. Well, no, because honestly, I don't know you. I don't know you.
Right.
And a lot of times my schedule just doesn't permit. My schedule is very, very, very full. But I'll tell you what I do is when like people like you are like you're top supporters. I just love you so much, for your support and encouragement. It means a lot to me. So if you're doing something, I'm like hoping my calendar is clear because I'm going to be there, but just for people I don't know, no. So, okay, so you guys got your place. Now you're here. What advice would you give to people who are thinking about relocating?
Ooh, okay. I do think I've met lots of people who have come just individual, but even those people that I've met, they are now in community, right? So I'm not just meeting them on the street, and they seem to be more and more content because they found community. They've, gone to Daiquiri, or they've gone to Yaman, or they've, found some activity that you're sponsoring. So I do think that the tour is a jump off, and like you're always talking about a soft landing. It's a good place to do that. And I think that's for anybody, even if you think, I can do my own research, you can, but there's, like you said, there's something positive about knowing I can talk to people in the group and safely, like they're looking out for me just like you would be looking out for
family.
So, yes.
Family. We create family, and we create communities. And I think the tour, I think that you can do it on your own, especially now. And one of the main reasons that you might be able to do it on your own a little bit easier is because of Black expats in Panama, because of all of the communities that have been built where you can fall in. But there's something very different about getting your information how and when and where you can, and coming and knowing you're going to spend 5 days and know just about everything you need to know to make this move. Or, I just think it just, having the professionals to serve you and help you get established just gives you just a better opportunity for success.
For success, and I think also in peace. And I think for anybody who's struggling with family members or children, whoever may be concerned about you making this move, when they know that you're in a safe space and you've got people who are genuinely looking out for you, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
And I guess the only thing I would add as far as advice, even though we haven't done it for people, is that, you know, you can come, and a lot of our activities are centered on Panama City. But from here, you get so much information about, and you probably have taken a visit down to Coronado or some of the other places, but now you'll find people who've been there for 4 months or 5 months, or no friends there, and you'll get an opportunity to visit some of the beach places and the smaller towns with knowledge of someone that you've met in Panama City as a jumping spot. So if you're not looking for city life, it's a good way to start working your way, if you want, maybe all the way over to Boquete. Whereas it used to be people would start in Boquete and find themselves migrating all the way up to Panama City. But I think it's a good thing to start here in the city. For some people, you consider, and you can use this as your jumping off point to explore up and beyond that into other countries, because you'll find information about Colombia, Costa Rica, what's the other one? Chile. Just people who have gone everywhere.
Yes.
That you will in Ecuador, that you'll meet here in Panama.
Yes.
In community, and then have connections outward. So that'd be
to get to those places. It's so easy to get to those places too, from Panama.
Exactly. We actually, interestingly, as Bargery was talking, I was thinking about, we ran into a friend of ours that we have known for years, and she has just purchased property in Cerro Azul.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's just been amazing. No,
we hadn't seen her.
We hadn't seen her in years.
Like 7 or 8 years.
We hadn't seen her in years. And I think I told you that I also found out I have a cousin who has been coming here for several years to do business. Oh, I don't know where my wallet is. But she comes and goes and buys the mola fabric and then sends it off, makes designs and stuff, and sends it off to Colombia, where they put the leather and do all that. So, I mean, yeah, there's...
You know what I think is so wonderful is that now it's like we are living so differently. Yes. And when you go to call your friends, it used to be, what's your area code? You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, girl, what's your country
in? What's your country code?
Exactly. Like we are, the internet and the global connections have been that's why I try very hard not to complain about this daggone internet and Wi-Fi, especially broadcasting from Panama.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just think that it's really good, and it helps us to stay connected. So did you want to add anything to that as far as advice, Bargery?
No, I think that's pretty much it for me. Sharon does a lot of the research, and I get the benefit of that. But yeah, it's just the community and what you can learn. Yeah.
Did he go get a piece of mola?
I did.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. I got a wallet, something like that.
Yeah, she actually, I think
she goes to the island and buys
like a bunch of
directly from the people that live on the island there. I forget the name of the island there. Just
it's not San Blas.
San
Blas. Okay.
No, but she goes to San Blas. Yeah.
She goes to San, and we did not know all these years. We didn't know she did this.
And she happened to talk to another cousin who said, "Oh, you're going to Panama? Sharon is in Panama." And she was like, "I'm sorry, what?"
She didn't know we were in Panama.
That's amazing. I tell you, the world is just getting smaller. You got to be careful how you treat folk. Right? You really do. So
I would advise
so
people
now,
if you don't do a tour, watch the videos. And if you decide to come on, you'll come on, but you will meet people, and it'll be from different other tours in groups, but you will meet people from Black expats in Panama, and they will be very resourceful and friendly.
Mhm.
And so come on, check it out.
Yeah, I think that we're more friendly to each other here than we are at home.
Yes.
Honestly, and I think that military people always talk about that. Like when you're in like if you're in the military and you're in a foreign place, that you just kind of have that connection. So I think
Right.
that we connect on so many levels. The one thing that makes me very happy is the connections that we make. And a lot of us, we're at this age where it's so good to know that we're
Yes.
looking out for each other. If we haven't seen you in a while, I mean, to be in a foreign place and somebody
Yes.
said, "Girl, where you at?
Exactly.
Are you, and then making sure that you're here,
Yes.
because that's the other thing. We come and go as we want. Okay.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
like, where y'all at? Are y'all in the States? Are y'all here? Because I haven't seen you or, heard from you in a minute, people are going to look for you.
Yes.
And we had a fire in the building last week in the element. The element had a bad
Right. I
fire.
saw that.
And Norma was just talking about it last night. She was like, "Oh my goodness." She said she wasn't there. She lives there. And she said, "Thank goodness she wasn't there." And she said, "But she cannot tell you how many messages people had that she had from people making sure that she was okay."
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it made her just feel really good. You're here as a woman alone. And
Right.
speaking of women, we're driving this thing.
Yes. Absolutely. Seriously.
We're driving it.
I did game night last night, and one of the things that was discussed there as well is the fact that these single women can come and feel safe and be in community and do their thing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it's really with them in mind. A lot of my tour is designed around the single woman. Somebody come in, like the WhatsApp chats that we do, and it's required, and, never making anybody feel that they're alone. And I'm so glad that they have been comfortable to come. A majority of our tours, the dominant demographic is usually Black women 50 to 70 or more by themselves. And I'm going to do a whole thing with them because they're moving here by themselves. And I have like a whole list of them. And I want them
that's
to
a positive thing too. Yeah, for other people to see that you're never too old, and you want to just come on and do it.
Come on and rewire. Okay, let me ask y'all this. We got to get ready to get out of here. How's your Spanish?
It's getting better.
Okay. Are you not going to say un poquito? Everybody say un poquito. Everybody know that.
Más y menos.
De nada. No, it's getting better and better. I still am tongue-tied, can't speak, but I can hear so much more now. I can understand a lot more what's going on. And when I'm trying to speak and I'm saying it incorrectly, I better understand why they're correcting me, even though I'm still making a mistake. I'm like, oh, okay, you have to keep the E the same, sounding the same. You can't be changing it up like you do in English. So it's coming along. But Sharon, she's doing pretty well, I would say.
Well, I think too, that's something for people to not let that deter you, because even the people who don't speak English, they're very accommodating. It's not in any kind of negative way. They actually chuckle a little bit when they correct you, and they we found that, especially like in the Uber, they'll have you repeat it, and then if you still don't have it right, they'll say no, and then repeat it until you get it right with the right emphasis.
So Spanish is not a barrier. Even if you don't want to learn it, you still can get by with your translator and other people's. They may not be able to speak English, but they'll understand what you mean for the most part. Though I wouldn't recommend it. You can go that route. I think you can actually not speak Spanish if you decide to, but you'll be missing out if you don't try.
If you don't try, and not only that, I'm at the point now where, now that you guys are living here, it'll just come more and more and more. It's like when you come and you spend a little while and you go back and you're not speaking Spanish to anyone, or if you're not continuing on whatever program you're using to help improve your Spanish, you lose it a little bit,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I'm finding now that I'm more gentle with myself. We started the cafe and conversation. That's like over 2 years. And even though it's a
Mhm.
little thing, it's a big thing because some
Yeah.
people are just don't have the courage to get up and say anything.
Right.
And when you
Right.
don't know, I mean, and that is the other side of coming to Panama. It is
Yeah.
a Spanish speaking country.
Yes.
When other people speak English, you just lucked out.
Yes.
You
Right.
lucked out. That's
Right.
easier for you. And then people, they say, well, you should know more because your husband, speaks Spanish. Because of course, Alfredo, and I'm like, don't judge me.
Right.
Sometimes
Exactly.
when you have everybody does things at their own pace, and everybody learns it in different ways,
Exactly.
honestly. And I think that it depends on sometimes like your temperament. Sometimes you just like, I don't really feel like working that hard to communicate right now. Okay, I really don't. I'm just going to need for you to understand what I'm saying. I need for you to, and vice versa, and we need to move on because I got other stuff to do,
Right.
And sometimes if you have a partner and they start trying to make you, speak more, then that could cause contention.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather just, we speak Spanish, here, but when I want to,
Right. Right.
when
Right.
I,
Right. Well,
okay,
here's the thing. A lot of them want to learn English. So, that can work both
both
ways.
ways.
We have met this woman in a coffee shop,
Mm.
and Martha. And so Martha has been very amenable to helping us have just even little
Yes.
dialogues and things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been, and our administrator and our security guards. And so there are plenty of opportunities to, make relationship with people with just a little bit,
Un poquito.
That's how Cafe and Conversation started. My
Mhm.
neighbors and me, they're from Venezuela, and we were just kind of working out together and trying to speak in the opposite language as much as we
Right.
could. And we did so much better when one of my best friends here in the neighborhood, she used to work out with us. She was bilingual. We were so lazy, we was just like, Gigi, what she say? Gigi, what he say? And Gigi said, okay, okay. So she said, and then he said, what she wants to know is, but when Gigi had to go back to work and her schedule didn't permit her to work out with us anymore, I
Okay.
was very intimidated. I didn't want to stay working out with them because I'm like,
Right.
I ain't going to know how to talk to them. And
Right.
I just decided that it was important that I tried.
Yeah.
And we did so much better without Gigi.
Okay.
We did so much better because we had to make it
No
work.
crutch.
We had
Yeah.
to try, and then we had to act it out, and then we had to go to Google Translate when all else failed. But if we was
Right.
going to communicate, we had to make it happen.
Right.
That's how it is living with my husband. I'm
Yeah.
like, I haven't really had to.
Right. Right.
I really haven't had to because I'm like, what does she say? Whenever
Right.
and
Right.
but it is something to consider. And I
Yeah.
think that when people are thinking about moving to a Spanish speaking country, that I would start at least acquainting yourself.
Sure.
Although
With just some little tiny basics. Yeah.
children's Sesame Street type thing in
Sure.
Spanish.
Sure. Sure.
Anything like
Yeah.
that. So, listen, I am glad that you're here. Now that you're here, how do you feel? Like, is the honeymoon over?
No, actually, we've had a couple of sets of guests come to visit, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I have been saying or sharing with them is trying to do more things to make me really feel like I'm at home. So everything doesn't have to be outside. Like, come on over and let's just sit and chat, or let's meet at the local coffee, or like this is home. And we're referring to it as home. It's when you're gone someplace in the Uber, you're like, okay, so let's go home. And so that's a really good feeling. It really is.
Yeah, we're about to go back to the States as planned for November and December, and it's going to be to see our grandchildren. They got 16th birthday coming up for our grandson, another birthday for his little sister in early January, and other things we need to do with our mothers in particular. Make sure that Sharon's mom, who can travel, she gets to spend family time with family time. So it's all good. But I'm thinking to myself, man, I got to leave Panama. I've got to go, and I got to be in the States for this time period. So I'm already looking forward to getting back because I'm not really looking forward to leaving. Yeah, and the things I'm going to miss out on while I'm gone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, during the holidays, because so many people do go back and forth to the States during the holidays, but it's still nice to know you got home to come back to.
Yes.
Yes.
You got
Very
home.
much.
Plus, it's going to be cold when y'all go. And so,
Exactly.
it'll be nice. It'll be nice to come back home. So listen, it has been an absolute blast talking to y'all. Thank you for. Ask you. How did you decide? Okay, this is it. Then we really got to go. How did you decide what to move here? And did you move anything here? Did you come with 2 suitcases? What did you do? Because that painting behind you looks like mud cloth, like kind of thing.
And that's not even ours. That was here.
That was okay, because everything's furnished.
Yes. Now, it was furnished. We had a sofa. We had to have her take that out because it was killing our backs. So we have bought something to sit on that's comfortable, but we each had 2 suitcases when we came.
Wow. And it's just so hard to think of that was enough.
Well, it's plenty, because I just said to Bargery, especially with the clothing situation, it's like, well, that before you even get here, that you don't wear half the clothes in your closet all the time anyway.
Nope.
And even with the little bit of clothes that I brought, I've been rotating the same stuff. I haven't even worn all of that.
Wow.
So yes, exactly. You can do it. You can do it.
And once you realize that, it's so freeing.
Yeah. Well, it also helps that we still have a house that we can leave stuff.
Yeah, that's true. You haven't had to go through everything and decide what goes and what stays, because that's a job.
We're getting ready to try to work that out. So
yeah. Okay, that's cool. Well, listen, it's been wonderful talking to y'all. I hope to have y'all on the show again. I need to check in on my people like every year or so, because now it's getting to where people is like been here 2-3 years.
You could do like a class like you do before your tours.
I got a plan. And you're all up in my business, Sharon. Listen, I love you guys.
Thanks so much for asking us. Love you too, to death, to death, to death. Okay. Or as a friend of mine says, to life. Love you to life.
I love you to life. I love you. Yes. How about this? I love you to life and death, baby.
There you go.
Because you can't have one without the other.
That's true. That's true. That Take part. Every day.
That part.
Yes. All right.
Thanks. And there you have it. I'm telling you, they are so amazing. I'm telling you, one thing about this whole expat experience for me is that I have made so many new friends, and I say to be 60 years old and making new friends every day, learning something new every day, exploring a new culture, waking up with peace in my heart and in my soul. It's just like it couldn't get any better. It really couldn't. So that was Sharon and Bargery, and they are just like one of my favorite couples here. And we have been together. We've been friends and family since their Black Expats in Panama Cultural Relocation Tour in December of 2021. I'm with you all the way, baby. So when you're ready, holla at your girl. Let me know. A relocation tour is really, really good stuff, especially a BEIP Cultural Relocation Tour. for us, by us, with all the same benefits, okay? We concentrate on areas that are more likely that you're going to like to live. You know, a lot of Black expats, there's some Black expats that want to live in Boquete, but that's not the norm. You're much more popular to live in the city. It's much more popular. So anyway, that's that. So the other thing I wanted to say was we are going to be presenting our BEIP B2B business forum. It is how to win a business in Panama. Okay. And it's just something that every expat needs to know. Not only us as expats, but business owners in the community. No matter where you come from, or if you're Panamanian. Unfortunately, we don't have a Spanish segment of this at this time. And it's one of the things that we want to do for next year, to definitely be able to, have a Spanish segment. It's just not working for us to get it done this year. But anyway, we talk about marketing, finance, credit, in Panama, the legalities of starting a business and the tax implications, labor laws. We're talking about AI. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about the free zone. How you could make that work for you, understanding how that import-export thing happens. We're talking about culture, the cultural aspect of doing business in Panama. It's going to be off the charts, honey. It is going to be off the charts. And even if you don't have a business and you're not a business owner, if you have people who are doing regular work for you in Panama, you may need to understand labor laws. Even though you're not their boss and you're not their employer, you need to understand the labor laws in Panama because it's a lot different than in the U.S. So with that said, there's a ton of other things that we have going on. As always, second Wednesday is, I'm going to start giving y'all a quiz. Second Wednesday is the BEIP B2B Network Meetup. The third Wednesday is the Welcome Wednesday. The fourth Sunday is the Cafe and Conversation Brunch. And our Single and Satisfied does floating. So I'm not going to be doing the newsletter every month anymore. I'm going to do it like every other month. I just don't think it's necessary to do it every month. If you disagree, let me know. But that's kind of what we're doing right now. So looking forward to a really, really hype 2025. Wishing everybody well in the United States. Right now, there's a lot of storms going on. Both figuratively and literally, the United States is in a position. And I just really want to emphasize and always remind you to have a plan B. Have a plan B before it's too late to have a plan B. Not to be all creepy and scary and everything like that, but it's for real. We're just living in that time. And I just want everybody that I love to have a plan B. Okay, so we are going to leave you with Bloodstone, Natural High, baby. Oh, yes, that was one of Sharon and Bargery's picks for their favorite 70s or 80s jam. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to hear this myself because that's one of my favorites. I want to give a shout out to my main man, Daryl Spears, Elite Conversations Podcast Media. And, he's just, been my guy for a long time. Be right there. I appreciate your help and your work, Daryl. And then also always want to give a shout out and love to Devin and Riley at blacksedradio.com for creating this platform to allow us to put our voices in the world forever. Listen, until I get with y'all next time, I love you, love you, I love you, and there's just nothing that you can do about it. This is your girl, Starla Van Horn, Black Expats in Panama, by way of Little Old Glassboro, New Jersey, right here on blacksedradio.com. Peace and love, y'all.